Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and distinguished speakers, it is my great honor to welcome you to the opening ceremony of the International Conference Free Talks Cultivating Connections, Exploring Languages Acquisition and Intercultural Dialogue. The conference is a testament to the power of language and communication and fostering understanding and building bright connection between cultures. In a world that is increasingly unconnected, the ability to communicate across languages and cultures is more important than ever. Over the next few hours, we will have the opportunity to engage the fruitful work, share insights and experiences, and explore innovation approaches to language acquisition and intercultural dialogue. We will listen to the stories and backgrounds of our wonderful speakers who are global representatives of culture and languages. Our goal is cultivate connections that will not have any borders and promote mutual understanding and respect. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all the participants, speakers and organizers who have worked tightly to make this conference to reality. So, your dedication and commitment to promoting cross-cultural communication are truly inspiring. And I wish you all, one more time, a fruitful and enriching conference experience. May our discussions be very light, bright, and connection be meaningful. Dear guests, dear participants and speakers, I would like to tell you that our conference will have 4 main parts and 5 amazing speakers, and I would like to start with the USA, with the guest from the USA, our main speaker, Елена Орешникова. Please, on the screen.
Hi everyone. My name is Elena, and I'm here to talk about intercultural communication, its challenges and views. So, I've been teaching English for about 17 years, and last year I moved to the USA, and now I live in one of the most beautiful states of America, Washington, on the border of Canada. I'd like to share something that was kind of challenging for me and was different from my Russian background, my Russian culture, and my Russian point of views. Things that I get used to do in my own country, and now I face some differences. By differences, I don't mean that they are good or bad. So that's just something that is not same mindset, way of living, behavior, culture and traditions, not same to my own. So I'd like to start with small talk. In Russia, when I lived in Russia, I tried to surround myself with English atmosphere, let's say so. I was watching a lot of movies in English, listening to English songs, reading books and magazines in English, and I have some friends to practice English with. So, I knew about this art of conversation of American people, but I so that it is more about, hi, hey, how are you? And what a lovely day. So maybe some words about weather, and we're done. Not at all. I was so mistaken. First of all, people here can start this conversation, this small talk, wherever they go. In a hospital, school, park, some office, if you go for documents or papers, in the street, so in a supermarket, in a shopping center, wherever you go. And it looks like they have a set of questions or phrases to ask and to say, to make a conversation, to make a dialogue, to dialogue with you. But in fact, it sounds so naturally that I don't believe that they're pretending or they're performing like a play. No, nothing like that. For example, in a line when you are waiting, a stranger can compliment you, your clothes or your appearance, or your dog if you have one, or they may start conversation about things that is around you. Like if you are in a shopping center, they can talk about TV or I don't know, food. And word by word, and you see that 5 minutes, from 5 to 10 minutes passed, and you feel like your mood raised, and this time just flew away from you. So it is kind of interesting experience, and I think that this is a good one. This is a good habit. This is a good tradition. Same happens with fake smiles, as we call them. So you won't believe it, but they're not faking them. Smiles. They're not faking smiles. It's like I can compare it with maybe in a public transport when young person sees a pregnant woman or an elderly person, so they try to offer their seat to them. I hope I believe so. And same happens here. Are they faking that? I don't think so. They see it everywhere, and they behave this way because it's everywhere. It's common practice. So American people see smiles everywhere, and they try to smile at you and give smile back. Right now I'm talking about my region, so things may be totally different in another region, because every state is a different country, let's say so. That's why in my region, in my state, in my city, it works like that. Mostly people smile at you. For example, I walk a lot, and mostly when you see a person who is coming towards you, you wave or you smile and you say, what a lovely day, if you don't have your headphones, or earphones. So you say, what a lovely day, and you say something about nature or about clothes again. Smile and small talk, they go together. Mostly. One time I was witnessing a talk of a mom and her child, her daughter. Her daughter was about 4 or 5 years old. So her mom told her, smile, smile, my princess, or something. That guy is looking at you. And her daughter smiled at him. And after that, she asked, why do I need to smile to everyone? And her mom told that, maybe this person is facing some problems, or he's having a bad day, or he's even maybe thinking about committing suicide. So you can save this person by giving him hope with just a simple smile. Nice explanation. And so they really believe that, and they use it as a tool to make people feel happier. Yeah, why not? So why not? Maybe I'm still getting used to sorry, overusing sorry. Yeah, sorry is everywhere, wherever you go, especially in a supermarket. From all aisles, you can hear, sorry, that's my fault. Sorry, my bad. And the answer is, all good, you're good, no worries, no problem. Yeah, and when you finish shopping and you leave the supermarket, you have a collection of sorry. Yeah, I still don't know. So I still cannot use it. Mostly I hit people with my trolley because sometimes I'm messaging or texting or posting something on Instagram, and I don't see anything. And when I hit, or when I even, you don't need to hit, you just need to be on the way to get your sorry, on the way with person. So to collect sorry, collection of sorry. And before I open my mouth to say sorry, this person has already made an excuse. So it's just maybe because they were practicing it since their childhood, because even kids use the sorry or excuse me every single minute. So maybe because of that, they're good at it. But I still need to practice more. So it sounds interesting. Yeah, it sounds interesting to me. Let's sum up. Small talk, fake smiles, and sorry is a part of culture, and people, foreigners, yeah, native American, not native is different, yeah. So American people are practicing in from their childhood, and it comes natural. Nothing to blame them for. Another thing, I think maybe this is tradition of just my friends, but every time I'm invited for any birthday party or baby shower or bridal shower or bridal show or any other occasion, so any other meeting, they send me a schedule. The time when I need to come and the time when I should leave. That was new thing for me. I didn't know about that before I moved, and I don't know, still I kind of like it more, because I know when my evening will be finished. So I can plan something, some my things for the evening, and I know exactly that after a photo, I can leave and the party is over. And I think this is kind of advantage for a host, because they know when the guests will leave, and they know they can plan the evening, they can go to bed after mostly 2 or 3 hours of celebrating. Yeah. And most of all, on most occasions, I bring my own food. So with me, the host sends me a list of food or dishes, which will be on a birthday party, and I just pick one, and I bring olives, corn, or cabbage, or maybe, I don't know, onion, rice, or depends on the party, and we share it. Yeah, guests make party works. So from a guest, his attendance, food, present, but sometimes they ask, if you want to, you can bring a present. If no, it's fine. Yeah, just come. And from a birthday person, just the attendance, nothing else. I think that's a good tradition, but I don't know, it puts some limits, yeah, in your party, so it doesn't sound like party, it sounds like meeting more to me. And I think I'd like to finish my speech with the phrase that if you study the language.
So, wow, it was amazing. Thank you so much, Elena. Thank you so much for your experience, for your background, for the stories, and I'm sure it would be very, very useful for us, for people who are interested in cultures, and also in such situations when you need to have the adaptation. And dear guys, I want also to tell you that during the World Conference we have a chat, and you can post comments there with your questions, because unfortunately Elena isn't with us right now. She is in USA currently, and in Washington, and that's why for her it is very, very, very early morning, but we are so appreciate her for her wonderful speech and rhetoric. And now I want to present to you our second speaker, and to be honest, this lovely girl, I really we met during the BRICS Youth camp during the session of ecology and protection of the nature, and I'm amazed with her experience. And of course, when I had a chance, I asked her to participate as a speaker, because she has a lovely background of cultural understanding. She travels a lot. I follow her in Instagram, Forbidden in Russia, and anyway, the world and her experience. And so I want you to listen to this wonderful girl from Brazil. Currently she is in Vietnam. And Alina, are you with us?
Hello guys, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, amazing. We can hear you.
Perfect.
Great. So,
All right.
Please present yourself, say a few words about you and your wonderful rhetoric.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for the invitation. I'm super happy to be able to share a little bit about my experience, my intercultural experience living in Russia. Well, but first of all, I just wanted to introduce myself quickly. So, my name is Aline. I am originally from the Brazilian Amazon, the north of Brazil. I went to university in the capital of Brazil, Brasilia, where I studied social sciences, which are a mix of sociology, political science, and anthropology. And then I got my master's degree in human rights. And then I started to travel around Europe, where I attended like several conferences in European universities, discussing about racial relations and also cultural studies. So today I wanted to talk with you about my speaking club because I have a speaking club in St. Petersburg, the city where I live, which is called Human Speaking Club. And it has been like this experience of having a speaking club has been an intercultural journey to me. Into the Russian way of being, so that's basically the theme of my what I'm going to speak with you today. So it's Human Speaking Club, an intercultural journey into the Russian way of being. But before, I think it's important to explain a little bit like how I ended up in Russia, right? Because that's like not something very common for like a Brazilian to move to Russia if it's not for studies. Because most of the Brazilians I know, they live in Russia, they moved because they went to university or because they met their partners abroad or something like that, and then moved to Russia, which is not my case at all. I always, since I was 20 years old, I have been backpacking around many countries. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Okay, perfect. So I have been traveling since I was 20 years old. I'm 30 years old now. So I have been traveling with a backpack to different countries and interested in cultures and in languages. So I learned English when I was like 13 years old. I learned it when I was very young, and then I also learned Spanish and traveled extensively around Latin America. And then I went to college and had the opportunity of traveling around Europe as well. So it was one of these trips that I ended up going to Russia. But I already was interested in Russian culture in general because in Brazil, in university especially, we read a lot of Russian literature, especially Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. That's like everyone knows these authors in Brazil. So I already kind of like had this fascination to what will be like the Russian soul because of the literature. And then I also got interested in music. I always have been also interested in history. So everything in the end led me to be interested in Russian culture in general. So then I went on this backpacking trip around Europe, and I went to Paris, and then I took a flight to St. Petersburg 2 years ago. And since the first moment I arrived in St. Petersburg, I felt like, okay, this is my home. I felt like somehow a huge connection with the city. And my plan was to stay just for 2 weeks there and then 2 weeks in Moscow. And then I was heading to Egypt. But in the end, I never left St. Petersburg. Not even to Moscow I went in this first time in Russia. And it's been like an amazing journey. So my interest for cultures is what brought me to Russia specifically. Oh, and uh, of course, learning Russian is not an easy path, especially if you're not in the university. Because when I first arrived, all the foreigners I met that could speak Russian, they studied for years before moving to Russia, or they are like studying intensively at the university. So for me, it was quite hard. And I thought, okay, I need to find a way to connect with people here. Because just learning Russia on my own is gonna take a long time, and I'm already living here, right? So I cannot like isolate myself. I need to meet people, so I decided to create the Human Speaking Club, which I created nearly 1 year ago. I live in a very big apartment in the city center of St. Petersburg, next to Nevsky prospect. So I thought, okay, my house is pretty central. We have an amazing big living room, and we thought, okay, that here would be perfect, much more cozy than a cafe. So then I started to host these speaking clubs in my home, and it's been like such an amazing experience because it's always so different. Each meeting is completely different from the other because people really makes it to be such a like, I don't know, like out of comfort zone kind of experience because I understand this goes to any country. Like when you're learning English, you ended up seeing the world in a more like Americanized way. And I feel like in Russia, people expect me to say things in this way. But I'm from Latin America. I'm from Brazil. Even though I speak English well, I'm not gonna speak like I'm Americans about the world. I speak as a Latin American, as a Brazilian. So the things I say and my perspectives about the world always brings a lot of surprise to people. So at my speaking clubs is always a moment like, wow, I never imagined that things are like that in Brazil, or that you guys have this relationship with the other countries around, and that the history of your country is like this. So my human speaking club meetings ended up being like super like deep talks about geopolitics, about culture, about how you feel out of place in your own country, and all these kind of subjects. And it's always so interesting because not only Russian people attend, but also have some other foreign friends that come and they bring their own perspectives. So it's always very like such a rich conversation. So through this adventure, let's say, in my speaking club, I came up with 5 characteristics of Russian people that I ever learned, that I have been learning through my meetings, that I would like to share with you. So the first, the characteristics are more like not about exactly personality, but what for me will be cultural traits. So the first one is the directness and transparency of Russian people when they explain how they feel about something. So I come from a country that is highly influenced by the US, right? So we love small talks, and we love to just feel people to make people feel comfortable. We hate making people feeling uncomfortable. And Russians, for what I have been seeing these 2 years, they are not afraid to say how they feel because it's just the truth. So if you cannot handle it, then the problem is not of me that is speaking the truth, but of you, of not knowing how to handle it. So in many times in my speaking club, someone like 100% disagreed with what I said, and then the person just said right to my face, like, no, I think this is completely wrong, and because of this. So so this let's say politeness that in Brazil we try to imitate from Western cultures. In Russia, I never like really saw in my speaking class, people really just said like, "Wow, look." For example, I'm a huge fan of Brat movies. I even have Sergei Bodrov tattoo on my body, and people see this in my body, right? This tattoo, but they still tell me right to my face, "I hate Brat movies. I think it's one of the worst movies ever made." So I heard that in my speaking club already, and I never. I mean, in the beginning, I felt a little bit offended, like, "Wow," but then with time, I learned that it's not because the person disliked me. It's the person is just being honest, and it has nothing to do with me personally. So yeah, it's being super interesting to see, to deal with that. And I went recently to Brazil for a couple of months, and I was like saying things to my friends there, like, oh, I really didn't like this juice, something like that. And my friends would be like, whoa, Aline, you're so rude. Like, because Brazilians are not used to, if you say even like basic things like this, I don't like this, I don't like that. So yeah, so I'm changing too with this experience. So And second characteristic will be one of my favorites, which is discipline, focus, and a sense of high achievement. And this, of course, it's from a very specific circle of people that I am around, that I'm surrounded in St. Petersburg, which is middle class, educated Russians that can speak English. So, of course, it's a very like narrow view of the whole country, but that's what I haven't been seeing in my speaking club, right? So most of the Russians I know, they're very disciplined, and they sometimes they can be even too radical with themselves. But in the end, I think it's a positive trait actually, because in Brazil we are completely the opposite. People in Brazil, we always have excuses for everything. We are often just saying, no, I will start tomorrow. I will go to gym tomorrow. I will start eating better tomorrow. But in the end, we never do it. We just create excuses. But with Russian people, like, they inspire me so much to be better. Like, if you haven't met me 2 years ago, I was a completely different person. Like, I was way less disciplined, you know. I feel like I grow so much in this aspect of my life because I started to be surrounded by people that they are really working on themselves and how to improve the quality of life and their life in general. And in Brazil, there it's still not as common as in my circle of people in my speaking club in Russia. So then I will say this is the second characteristic I really appreciate. And the third one will be resilience. So when I arrived in Russia, it was right before the special operation. So I was very shocked when everything started. Everyone was very afraid, of course, and for me, it was amazing to see how my friends and their families are coping with that, and how until now, with all the sanctions and all the problems, people are still there and still moving on. And this resilience that comes, I mean, from Russia, it's something that you would expect because of the history of the country. Of course, Russian people pass through so much in the history that you expect them to be strong, right? But being there in the society when everything's happening for me has shown me so much strength. And I really admire all the people, especially women, for being so strong and for making the country continue running and growing. As we can see, that economically Russia is still growing even though all the sanctions. So and the fourth characteristic will be one that it's the most obvious ones. One that is Russians can be quite negative when it comes to any aspects of life. So they always ended up putting a sad face, like a sad feeling about anything. Like, oh, let's do something. It's like, okay, let's do something. Like, not excited. Okay, I understand. There is, of course, the weather in Brazil. It's much easier to feel like happy all the time when the weather is perfect and there is beaches around, and of course there is that. But in St. Petersburg, it's another level. This lack of positiveness, and I mean, I am a very positive person, so I feel that people, they are like surprised when I start speaking about something in a positive way. They're like, "Wow, like how can you be so positive like this?" Because Russians tend to have this very negative look at things, but there is a good thing in all that, in my opinion, is that when I'm so positive, I feel that people around me, they let themselves go with this flow. So there is other nations, I have foreigners or friends, they are foreigners from other nations, and they, even if I'm super positive, they still gonna be super negative. But Russians, no, they are negative between themselves. But when I'm around, I feel like they get a little bit like higher energy. They are like, they are open. So even though Russians are negative, they're also open-minded. They go with you on this new path. So that's a good thing. All right, and the last characteristic I would like to share is a very interesting one. It's one that when I talk about that with foreigners, they get so shocked because they have a completely different view of what Russians are. So in Brazil, we have something that we call, in a sociological term, that we call stray dog syndrome. Stray dog syndrome is a inferiority complex that many Brazilians have towards Western nations, specifically the US. So in Brazil, it's very common for you to meet people that are going to say, everything's horrible in Brazil. My dream is to live in the US. Or I don't watch Brazilian movies because they are horrible. I only watch American movies because they know how to make movies. And things like this. So in Brazil, we have a lot of people like that, but I mean, we have been a colony for many years. Of course, we are a very young country. Our culture is still developing. So you expect people to have this inferiority complex. So then when I went to Russia, I was so surprised and shocked that so many people feel inferior, feel like the day culture specifically is inferior compared to other nations. I was so shocked because, I mean, in Brazil, we study about Russian culture, not that it's superior or anything like this, but we study as something that is very rich. You know, like in Brazil, Russian ballet is seen as something like unique, you know, and then you go to Russia and you meet someone and they're going to say Russia doesn't have anything good. You know, our culture is horrible. Like I don't listen to Russian music. Like I heard this so many times. And imagine me who went to Russia because of the culture, and you arrive there in St. Petersburg and you meet all these young people that tell me, why you are here? You could be in London, you could be in Berlin. It's much better there. Why are you doing here in St. Petersburg? It's horrible here. I'm like, what? You know? So when I tell that to foreigners, when I'm traveling, they feel so shocked because they really think that all Russians are super proud of their nation. And I'm like, well, not really. If you go to Russia, you're gonna meet lots of Russians that they really feel inferior. They feel like their culture is not as great as other nations. So, and in my speaking club, this is something, since we talk a lot about culture, and I bring to them my perspective, traveling around many countries, and most of the guys that goes to my speaking club, they never have been to Europe, for example. So they have a very romanticized view of what Europe is. So I bring them my perspective, and I compare the quality of life we have in St. Petersburg comparing with other big cities in Europe, and they feel so shocked. Like they seems like they don't have touch with this kind of perspective. So I see how this inferiority complex is really something that is with them for a long time. So, and in Brazil, no one believes me when I say that there is such a thing in Russia because of how strong is this view we have of Russian literature, Russian cinema, Russian music. For us, there is like, wow, they must be so proud of their culture. So then you go there and they tell you, no, I only listen to music in English and movies from Hollywood. Then it's a pity, but well, it's part of life. So I guess that's it. My 5 cultural traits about Russian people, based in my experience living in St. Petersburg for 2 years. So thank you guys. I hope it was an interesting insight for you from me as an outsider living in St. Petersburg.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Могу? No? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alinia. It was amazing. It was wonderful. And, it is very important for us Russians to understand the importance of our culture. And when we can listen it from the people like you, very educated, who have seen a lot and have interesting experience, and especially it is so proud right now listening to you. I'm very proud that in Brazil, in such a beautiful country where there are so optimistic person like you, people really learn our culture, literature, and I'm proud right now about my culture because of you. Thank you so much for sharing the your structured repertoire and cultural traits. For me, it was very, very important, and I'm sure for our other participants as well. So guys, I just remind you that you can ask questions. You can write down in our chat, or even, for example, right now, if you have questions to Aline, maybe. So you can just thumb up. If not, I would like to appreciate Alina one more time, and we are going to another wonderful speaker, because today we are lucky with the speakers, with their experience that they have and want to share with us, is Maria. So Maria is a teacher of English, and I'm very honored to say that also we met in our meeting, offline meetings before COVID, even when we have just started working my Free Talks Club, and now 4 years after we met again, and now I want to present you Maria as a speaker, and then really I don't have any even words, because I'm really proud that she is with us today, and because I am impressed with how wonderful she speaks English, how wonderful her accent, and also she's very professional. She always trying to find something interesting, and she shares it with us, with the teachers, but also she has amazing cultural background. And I want you, Maria, please, floor is yours. Present us yourself and your report.
Thank you very much. First of all, I just wanted to ask if you can hear me well, if everything is okay. Maybe thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will try to share my screen now with you. All right. So I guess I do it this way. And then I just start presenting it. Okay. Interesting. Let me see how I can control the presentation and see you at the same time. There must be a way. There must be a very good way to do it. Just give me one more. Well, I guess we can just continue this way. It's all right. So, yeah, very quickly about me. My name is Maria. Can you see my screen? Yeah, if you can, maybe send me a thumbs up or say something. Don't see now. Right, okay. And now? Okay. Super, thank you very much. So, very briefly about me, even if you can't see the slides, that's all right. I'm just going to use them as my sort of mind map of what I'm going to tell you about. So, very briefly about me. I graduated from the Ulyanovsk State Pedagogical University. I have a bachelor's degree in teaching English. I later on got several Cambridge certificates, TKT and CELTA. Then a couple of more certificates in teaching younger learners, IELTS preparation, Cambridge exam preparation. I took IELTS myself last year and I got 8.5. And as for my experience, which is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today, is I taught English not only in Russia, but also in Poland and in Cambodia. And these were different educational settings. And today I would like to highlight the differences, both of educational settings and the cultures of these countries, what I faced. So once again, very briefly, what the talk will be about. Firstly, I'll start with how I went abroad and why, Poland versus Cambodia, my experience, how to, some practical tips, and Q&A. So if you would like to ask anything, you can write the question in the chats or wait for the Q&A session and fire away there. So, first of all, I'm from Ulyanovsk. And before moving abroad, I'd only lived and studied in Ulyanovsk, so I'd never experienced any countries, hands-on, first-hand experience. So I did used to travel to Europe, and one of my trips was sort of very inspiring. So I decided to try and go and work abroad as a teacher. So I decided to do it after graduation because obviously I wanted to get my degree and I wanted to get some of the qualifications. I should also mention that I did transfer to study part-time at some point in my university journey because I really wanted to get some hands-on teaching experience. And I did. I worked in 2 language schools in Russia, in Ulyanovsk, and I am really, really grateful to the directors of the schools because they were sort of mentoring us. They had a very good sort of mentoring program where we'd meet every week and we'd discuss our challenges, and that really helped me progress as a teacher within these 2 years that I worked in Ulyanovsk school. So already by the time I went abroad, I'd had some years of teaching experience. I think that is also important. And of course, because I knew that just my degree and being a non-native speaker of English probably would not be enough. So the only thing that I really could do was to take TKT. So I did take TKT, 3 core modules to sort of make myself more attractive on the job market. And last but not least, I met my future husband, and we went together. And it's not just me bragging about my family life, it actually matters because I think I sort of joined him in this journey because my husband is from the UK, he is British, his name is Dave, and he sort of encouraged me. He was this sort of last drop, you know, for me to, okay, we're going together, and we got our first job in Poland. He's also an English teacher, and we met in Ulyanovsk. So, right after talking about my experience, I just want to say that if you want to do it, you can do it. You can go abroad, you can teach abroad if this is your dream, if this is your goal. So, Russia and Poland versus Cambodia. I did work in 2 different settings, as I mentioned before. In Russia and Poland, I worked in language schools, and in Cambodia, I worked in an international school. I'm going to tell you later what exactly the differences are. Did I have an imposter syndrome? Yes, of course. It was very scary to start working in a different country where everyone seemed to be way more eloquent in English, a way better teacher than I was at the time. But I guess what was more important was coming to my third point. So I compensated the lack of experience by this mindset, growth mindset of challenging myself every single day to learn to become a better teacher, to learn to become a better English speaker. And eventually, curiosity didn't kill the cat, it killed imposter syndrome. So I did gain more confidence, I did gain more experience in teaching different age groups, preparing students for different exams, and with this experience came confidence as well. Also, in the meantime, I took CELTA, which also gave me a confidence boost, of course. So as for language schools, as you probably know, teaching in language schools is more or less similar all around the world. So I taught English to a range of age groups, starting from 3 years old all the way up to adults. The maximum number of students is usually 8 in the class. Very similar to Russian system, exam preparations are very popular, so people expect you to have the expertise in Cambridge exams, in IELTS exams, and their state exam, like our ЕГЭ, is called Matura, so you might also have to prepare for this exam as well. As for teaching, because Polish and Russian, some people say they are different, but I could hear a lot of similarities between the languages. So as a teacher, I was able to predict what kind of errors my students would make, and I was able to create a sort of safety net for them to make our learning process more productive. And also because the language is, well, just because the letters, the alphabet that Polish people use is the same to English, the children could easily and quickly grasp the idea of phonics, what the graphic representation of the letter means and how it sounds. So teaching phonics was also much easier in Poland. And of course, because the mentality of Polish people is quite similar to ours, mind you, so I lived in the west of Poland. So the town where I live is called Koścień nad Odrą, and Odra is the river which divides Poland and Germany. So I can only speak on behalf of this part of Poland. Other parts might have a different understanding and a different sort of attitude towards foreigners. I speak only for this part. So the communication with children and parents was very easy, very straightforward. Everyone was on your side as a teacher. A teacher is also a respected figure. They appreciate degrees, they appreciate certificates, they appreciate your experience, hence they trust you with their children and with their learning as well. Schools are also very supportive, no matter how big or small they are. They are very supportive in terms of further development support. So if you like to continue growing, to take exams, to take different to have different certificates, they will only support you in that. Moving on to Cambodia. So I spent 2 years teaching in Poland and decided to challenge myself with a slightly different educational setting. International school. What does it mean? I worked as a primary teacher. So I taught 4 core subjects: English, maths, science, and global perspectives. I guess I was lucky because I really enjoyed maths at school and science as well. So it was really interesting for me to teach these subjects in English. The amount of learning I had to do before the lesson was immense, of course, but it was really interesting, really exciting to do that. Classes are much bigger, so you can imagine my sort of fright at first when instead of 6 to 8 students in the classroom I saw 20 plus. multicultural environment here is both a positive and a slightly negative point, because it is amazing that children are exposed to such a variety of different nations, different accents. But also it brings a lot of problems because, as I mentioned later on, lack of social emotional education. Also, I guess it's very important to mention that I put them in 2022, 2023. So these are sort of post-COVID years. Students used to study only at home with their laptop, and honestly, they forgot how to communicate face to face. So many issues that I had to face were concerning existing in a multicultural environment in one physical space, how to play together, how to express your emotions in the acceptable manner. Yeah. Also, because Khmer language, this is Cambodian language, I had some students from Vietnam, Korea, Chinese, from China. Their way of their language, the way their language is written, is very different from English. Therefore, I had a lot of problems teaching them phonics and teaching them how to read and write. So I had students who were about 10 years old, 10, 11 years old, and there were still many problems with students writing gibberish, just non-existent words, even though they could communicate freely. So that brings another challenge for a teacher. In terms of respect, so as I said, in Poland, there is a sort of undeniable respect of a teacher. However, in Khmer schools, Khmer teachers are very much respected, to the point where children are terrified to raise their hands, to speak out in class. So there is this one extreme. The other extreme is English teachers, who are viewed as fun party makers. And in class, so in my school, I used to teach in the morning English program, and in the afternoon they would have their Khmer program. And so they treated our first part as sort of fun part, for sure. Very little learning was happening there. So, and teachers themselves, they did sort of show verbal, non-verbal signs of appreciation, but you could sort of see that they also treated your side of the job with a little work. High demand from both the teacher and the children sort of comes from this respect issue, I would assume, because the parents sometimes could not see the reality of where their child is, and the goal they were setting for themselves was at times, unfortunately, too high for the kids to achieve. So, for example, again, like I said, some children would write complete gibberish, non-existent words, and they'd expect you to devote time throughout every lesson to these students, and you'd have 3-4 of those students who can't write properly, who can't read properly, and within a year they'd expect some sort of immense progress. This is very difficult to achieve, and a lot of parent meeting, teacher-parent conferences were about sort of explaining, delivering this idea of how teaching is done and what is possible and what is not possible. Pressure for academic excellence, I assume, comes from the general environment of Khmer people and Southeast Asia. People there, most of them, lead a very moderate, if not poor, lifestyle. And parents, so children's parents, usually work abroad, and the children very rarely see their parents. They're usually brought up by nannies, drivers, if there are means for that, or grandparents, or older brothers or brothers or sisters. So there is a lot of pressure for academic excellence that is put on the children, and every single mistake is viewed as the end of the career, the end of the world. So another thing that was really, really important for me as a teacher was to teach them growth mindset, to teach that mistakes are our friends. They help us to completely flip their understanding of learning. And the last point, wider skill set. I guess I meant from a teacher, required. By that, I just mean that, like I said, teaching in a language school has very different. There is a different number of students. There is a different type of communication with parents. Teaching in an international school, you need to know how to manage the classroom of 20 children. You need to know how to teach maths. You need to have some knowledge in maths and fractions and addition and subtraction. You're also required to cooperate with your grade teachers, so a greater level of cooperation is needed. All of that comes with practice. I didn't used to have these skills, but if you're willing to learn on the go, you will, and you'll achieve great success. By the end of the year, I was already giving trainings to other teachers how to implement global perspectives skills into other subjects. Practical tips, the last part of my speech. As I said before, if you really want to go abroad and if you really want to go teach, go. Don't let anyone divert you from this path. You need to experience it for yourself. You might have a great experience, you might have an awful experience, but it will be yours. My experience in Poland, you might have noticed, was much more positive than my experience in Cambodia, but that is my experience, and I can only speak for myself. Everybody likes certificates, so especially when you are going through a job interview, through the screening. So if you can get those certificates in advance, and I'm talking about both methodology and language. If you cannot, you can always express your willingness to develop further and just express your inclination to become a great teacher. As for resources, where you can look for jobs, there is a website called eslcafe.com. The name of the website is called Dave's ESL Cafe, and there are lots and lots of jobs for both language schools and international schools. Beware of agents. They usually have very emojis and everything. But you do need to be very, very careful, and I will come to this point later on. Test.com is the website for sort of higher tier international schools, and as non-native speakers, it can show us what qualifications are generally required, so you can tailor your resume, you can tailor your CV accordingly to show some sort of expertise in the necessary areas. You might be surprised to see Google Maps here, but that's actually how I found a job in Cambodia and in Poland actually as well. The easiest thing you can do is go to Google Maps, search language school, select the country or zoom into the country where you would like to go, and click on the schools. Go to their websites, research the schools, send them an email with your CV, start communicating with them. That is the easiest way. It does work very well in Europe. In Asia, there is there's a different common approach, a sort of walk-in approach. You need to be there, Many of them are visa-free for an extended period of time for Russians. So if you decide to go there, if you like the country, walk into a school, say that you're willing to work there, and you will take it from there, basically. As for scary stuff, read the offer and the job contract. It goes without saying. It should happen in Russia as well. Wherever you go, you need to read the offer and the job contract very, very, very carefully and know the label of the country that you're going to. You could consult a lawyer to help you, of course, because sometimes it is very, very hard to decipher what these words mean. I had a problem in Cambodia where I started working in one school, but then as the sort of orientation week, so the week where teachers get to know each other, get to know the building, the school, this orientation week wasn't going too well. And I understood that, so it was Friday, and on Monday I was supposed to start teaching, and I didn't know what class I was going to teach. I didn't know where I'm going to teach. I didn't know what program. The school hasn't even decided on the program yet. So I had nothing. Whereas my partner at the time, with every day he was gaining more and more confidence in what he was going to do. And I chickened out. I said, okay, I read the contract. In the contract, it stated that I have a trial period of 3 months, meaning that either party can break the contract without consequences. That's what I'm saying. I go to the HR, I go to the headmaster of the school, and I say, I'm terribly sorry, but this is just not working out. I need to leave, and I have a different offer. Everyone says, yes, sure, fine, thank you very much for your service, la 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 la. The following morning, I get an email from this school saying, you owe us a month's salary and all the visa expenses and the travel, well, not travel, just all the visa expenses, yes. It was about $2,000, which I did have at the time, but I didn't plan to spend it on the job that I didn't even start working at. When I started reading into the law, it did turn out that I was on the right. There is such a thing, this trial period. So I did have to hire a lawyer, and we did have to exchange letters between the schools. But also later on, so nothing happened, I didn't have to pay them anything. But later on I found out that there are more teachers who actually go to courts and they win the cases because the schools are not aware, maybe they don't think you will follow through with standing your ground, you know. So it is very, very important, especially if you go to Asia, to read the offer and know the labor law. Thank you very much. This is all from me. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat box here, or you can just unmute yourself and ask me anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's the subject, global perspective, that you taught in Cambodia?
That's an interesting one. And also it was the most challenging one I had to teach. Basically, it teaches students to think critically. It teaches metacognition. To give you a glimpse of what the lesson would look like, there'd be skills that we need to practice, for example, analytical skills, communication skills, and evaluation skills. So we'd have a big topic connected to the life, probably, something related to them, say littering. And they would have to go to the ICT lab to research, analyze the information, evaluate what was important, and that would be like a target goal for this project, say presenting, or maybe a podcast or broadcast or whatnot. Sort of project work with kind of guided inquiry-based learning, research stuff, all that. Thank you very much. Well, yeah, I guess that is it. You can always find me on social media. If you have any questions, drop me a message in Telegram if any questions pop up later on. Thank you very much for having me, Katerina. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much. So it was amazing to listen to about your background, and especially thank you so much for your practical tips, for sharing your personal tips, I can say. And for us, it would be very, very important. And especially thank you so much for the sites and for even Google Maps. I have never even an idea that it is so easy, at the same time it is so difficult. And one more time, a lot of thanks to you. And so, dear participants, dear speakers, and now it is time to go to another speaker, and I'm honored to tell you that it was an amazing meeting online during the conferences with Daria Alexandrovna. Daria Alexandrovna is a director. She's a director, you know, she's director of the Institute of Foreign Languages of the Ural State Pedagogical University, very experienced professor. So, Daria Alexandrovna, Daria, the floor is yours.
Katya, I'm sorry, how to switch on my screen to show my presentation?
Just a second.
If you only just help me, because
actually... wait a second. I will tell you, and actually my assistant will tell Maxim. Maxim, say hello to people. Hello. So he's technical. So you can see. You can see on the screen 1, 2, 3, third flash, and you can press on it.
I did. Do you see it now?
Wait a second, not yet. But it is downloading. Yeah, now we can see it. Okay.
And I will be able to operate it from here, right?
Yes, exactly.
Everybody sees it now? Yes?
Yeah, thank you very much.
What I like to do is actually to do with intercultural situations, intercultural communication. As a director of the Institute of Foreign Languages, I think it's one of the major issues and objectives of our all educational process, that we are to provide our students with such communication, with such situations where they have real life interaction with representatives of different countries, to share their experience, to be able to tell about their country in the target language, and to be able to learn as much as possible in the face-to-face collaboration about other cultures. So that is why what we do in our practice, in our actually, I still don't know how to change slides from my side. If only you could a live side. It doesn't work like that in my case. I don't know why.
Are you in like presenters mode or?
And where do you have this presenters mode?
I mean, if you don't have the presenters mode, then you have the slides. We can see the slides, and then we can see sort of the miniature slides on the left.
Yes, I see miniature slides. But when I
and I guess
open them, Actually, nothing happens. Okay, so still I thought I would somehow cope with it.
If I may, what I did, I have two windows side by side. So I had a separate window for the presentation, and I had a window for Discord. And when you
if I change it like this, has it changed in your screens? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Oh, thank you. Very nice. So here I have just brought to your attention the examples of what we are doing for our students. We make them participate in different intercultural projects. We had many of them. For example, here we have a project Global Understanding, when our students met with universities from Latin America, from the USA, from China, and many others, and discussed topics like college life, family and traditions, stereotypes, and many more. And here now we have a project, Intercultural Dialogue, and it's developing very positively and effectively now with Pakistan National University of Modern Languages, and students are suggesting topics for each next meeting themselves, and that's also very productive. Beside this, we in our institute have an international student club. By the way, some of the members of this club are participating in our today's conference. I'm very glad about it. And here, for example, some latest activities of our club, where we organize some informal, more close cooperation and collaboration and interaction of representatives of different countries in our university, or sometimes we meet in cafes, and thus our students participate in real life intercultural communication. And what's more, we are organizing now is the Talkmates project for school children that we have just started to organize. So we are searching for schools in other countries, learning languages like English language, first of all, and our school teachers who want to organize such communication for their school children, we organize the meeting for them, and the students are sharing, the school children actually, starting with grade 8, for example, ask each other questions, show something about their countries, and that's also a very great opportunity to them. So, what is the basis to all this? Of course, the intercultural communication as a science, which started with the name of and the actions of this wonderful person, Edward Hall, who was the director of the Institute of Foreign Services in the USA organized right after the World War II. And he wrote many books connected with intercultural communication. He was the first actually to announce it as a science, having its own notions, having its own methods of research, and so on and so forth. And he was the first to speak about the fact that not only language is the only thing necessary to be learned in order to go abroad to work, right, or to travel, to do whatever you want in interaction with the representatives of other cultures. Not only language plays the main role, but a lot of other specific things which are present in each culture, which are not seen, which are beyond our seeing, which are sometimes unnoticed, and but very important, not less important than the language itself. And also there are these two guys I love very much in our country who also are very much into the intercultural communication as a science, and who produced this definition of intercultural communication like adequate mutual understanding between two participants of the Communication Act who belong to different cultures. Why I like this definition is because of the word adequate. Do you know what it means? What does it mean to you? It would be very important for me to listen to your answers. Do you hear me? So what is adequate? What do you think?
Well, so this is the question only for me or for all participants?
For everybody who's listening, who's here.
Please, dear participants.
Because adequate mutual understanding between two participants, belonging to different cultures. What's adequate here? How do you understand it? How do you understand it? Maria?
Meaning enough. So understanding not the whole, maybe not everything or 100% of what was being said, but enough to grasp the main idea.
Thank you. Nice suggestion. So, Katya, what do you think yourself?
Say so. I agree with Maria. For me as well. So it makes a sense, and no.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you may support, of course. Vanya, what do you think? Oh, Polina, my guys from International Student Club, Wonderful World.
Received by some rules received by both sides of communication, maybe that way.
Also nice suggestion. Some rules, right?
Yes.
Respecting the rules of each other, right? Some traditions. Rules are always traditions. So yes, that's also close to. Actually, I also, when thinking deeper about this definition, I started looking for the origin of the word adequate. Actually, it's a Latin word, and ad in Latin means the preposition to, right? Ad hoc, we know, to the egg. Equate means equality, means equal. So Vanya's idea about rules is closer to what adequate means here. Yes, it means that we understand each other equally, right? Maybe the idea of enoughness is also somewhere here also, yeah? So it means for me that people who are representing different cultures, two different cultures at least, they look at each other with equal respect. Nobody is superior, nobody is inferior. They are in equal positions to each other. That's important for intercultural communication. That's what I try to teach my students. And in connection with this, I have also some questions which I usually discuss while teaching intercultural communication to my students. Like, if somebody says that you are mistaken or shows your mistake, will you get offended or not? Is it regarded by you as help or insult or whatever, or something else maybe, yeah? Or if somebody is late to a meeting, will you take it as a disrespect or it is a kind of irresponsibility for you? Or what? Is it normal in your culture to ask about salary, how much money you spend on things or life, or it's a too personal question? So, and while discussing this, we come to a conclusion that in some cultures, people are much more straightforward. In some are much more complicated here. In some are punctual, in others more or less about the time. Like, for example, a Mexican girl who I invite also to all of our events that we organize in the club or at schools. Her first example when she talks about Russian culture, how she was introduced to it, how she was getting accustomed to our traditions while learning here, studying here at the university. The first thing she says that nobody in Mexico comes on time to different events. If the party is proclaimed for 6 p.m., nobody comes at 6. Everybody would come an hour and a half later. Yes, and it's a norm for Mexico, but it's not a norm here. And people are to adjust to the situation they are living at the moment. If she comes to and is living now here, she comes to the events sharp at 6 o'clock. Yes, but not like in Mexico. She would come at 7:30 at least. So yes, and if speaking about salary, for some cultures is normal, for others it may be taboo, it may be something inconvenient, because people are more close in that culture, and that's also important to take into account, that not everywhere people are equal, yeah, in this respect. Their picture of the world, their image of the world, their mentality works differently. If you see the person for the first time in your life or don't know very closely, is it normal that this person comes up close to you? For example, 50 centimeters to you. Yeah, is it? Who can say?
Not for me, no.
Yes. So it's also the distance, feelings about distance, the difference, the comfort the comfort zones here are very different in different cultures. The same as whether people speak loudly or quietly, should speak loudly or quietly in public places here. Yes, there are nations which are more emotional, more expressive, unlike, for example, in Russia, we don't speak loudly in public places. Or if something in the outfit or appearance of a person is different from what you are accustomed to, what will be your attitude? Will you take it easy, or will it disturb you and irritate you much? It speaks about our inner tolerance to such differences, right? Whether we are tolerant or not, empathic or ethnocentric. That's also a thing to think about. And as intercultural communication is a science, it deals with a lot of different categories, notions, like, for example, image of the world, a person living, for example, in Australia, or a person living in Latin America or in Europe, they all look at the world differently, from different perspective, and many things do not coincide, starting with the weather. Yes, we're having snow outside of the window, but people in, for example, southern part of China or India, they have never seen it. Yes, we deal with such notions as ethnocentrism and xenophobia in intercultural communication. And we ought to lessen them as much as possible, because the world, the globalization shows that all nations, all cultures have the right to exist and live the way they are accustomed to. And only tolerance will help us to go through all these problems, right? We all know wear cultural glasses, and we cannot sometimes look at the world from the position of cultural relativism. Both terms were introduced by Edward Hall. So, because cultures are not absolute, they are relative and explained only for the region where this culture is developed. They have arguments for their existence only from this perspective. What's more interesting is the situation with stereotypes, which may be positive and helpful, and maybe purely, totally negative and unhelpful. And prejudices, of course, are always unhelpful because they do not have any scientific basis at all. They are based only on people's wrong perceptions. And also I was curious to find out that there are different approaches to intercultural communication, to organization of intercultural communication. From the sympathetic point of view, or with the sympathetic approach and with empathetic approach. So both approaches are described by Milton Bennett, whose research in the sphere of intercultural communication and mostly in the sphere of development of intercultural or cultural sensitivity. So he spoke about golden rule in intercultural communication, which is connected with sympathy. When we want to be treated the way, when we treat people the way we want to be treated ourselves. And empathetic approach, or which is platinum rule, he calls it as a platinum rule, which means that you treat people the way they want to be treated themselves. And of course, empathetic approach nowadays is considered to be much more valuable, much more productive, because sympathetic approach will help you to deal with people who you like. Empathetic approach will help you to deal with everybody. So, at the end, I just wanted to ask you what you will take with you to interact with people in different cultures and countries. And actually, I have suggested, not to waste time, some points out of what we have discussed. Like, of course, there should be tolerance to differences in other cultures. There should be the position of cultural relativism. There should be empathetic approach in your suitcase, and as much information you can grasp before you go to other cultures about that culture as much as possible. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It was amazing, wonderful, and very, very important for students, for travelers, and I also can tell you that it was like a course of how to learn intercultural communication and how to implement it in our lives. And thank you so much for the entertainment as well, because with the questions that you ask us, I even had a chance to think and to focus on my knowledge about intercultural communication, which is not, I hope is not so little. So anyway, always there is something to think of. So thank you so much. Maybe there are questions from our participants. So I just encourage all participants to be active and to take this opportunity to speak directly with and to ask directly of the questions to our speakers. So anyway, our chat is opened and you can write down the questions there. And now it is time to present you the last but not the least of our speakers, my wonderful colleague. I want to tell you that I wanted to present you our partner, because Tahir now is not only the member of our meetups but also our partner from abroad, and we will organize a lot of conferences and a lot of entertainment for people who are interested in cultures and languages. Tahir is amazing. He is a businessman, he is a politician, he is a diplomat, and he is a wonderful traveler. You know, I'm not even sure that he is not from his plane right now. So, and thank you so much, Tahir, that you are with us. And present yourself, please, and floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Am I audible? All right, thank you very much. So, thank you very much for having me in one more session of the Free Talks Club, and to talk about the multicultural things. So, as Katrina mentioned, and yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not able to hear all of you, by the way. If someone can speak.
Oh,
No, yes. All right. I know I listened to you. Thank you. All right. Today I am in Georgia. I just reached in Georgia in Tbilisi a few hours ago, uh, and I was not aware about the time difference between Moscow and Georgia. I was in Poland yesterday, so there are lots of different times differences due to different zones. So sorry for the little bit late. I joined late this session as well. I just had a chance to listen Maria and one other speaker. I missed the earlier speakers. I hope next time I will have a chance to listen all of them. So here I would like to speak about the intercultural communication. So very shortly, I will go through the topic, and I would love to share my experiences and some of my friends' experiences with all of you guys. If we talk about Pakistan, as I'm from Pakistan, Pakistan is a rich cultural and country. I mean, heritage and culture is very old, as like other countries, of course. Before going into the details about Pakistan and the culture and norms in Pakistan, first I would like to mention here why it is important to learn intercultural communication skills. Why the youth, why the people, why the youngsters should go with this topic, with this important thing? Why it is important? It is very necessary for all of youngsters to know, because there are some points, some reasons which uh, make us eligible to go for it. For example, if I would like to mention here, globalization, because we are living in 21st century. In this century, if a person, if any youngster want to leave the impact not only in his or her own country, but far beyond the borders, then it is mandatory to understand the cultures and norms of the other countries. If you do not want to leave the legacy and your personality impact in other countries, then no need to go for intercultural communication skills. No need. But if you want to go globally, want to interact people from all around the world, And if you want, for example, people from all countries or maybe from other countries, not all the countries, will know about you and you will know about them, then of course it is a strong tool and mandatory requirement to know about their cultural backgrounds. It will help us to communicate in a decent way, to understand each other. So it is the real essence of the globalization. In fact, I will say globalization is not possible without proper understanding of the cultural backgrounds of the other people, countries, I mean. Globalization demands intercultural communication, I mean understanding of intercultural communication. So for globalization, we have to understand it, we have to go for it. Further, I would like to mention here respect and tolerance, as Maria mentioned already, and she spoke very academically on the topic. I will generally speak about the things now. So, respect and tolerance. If we do not know cultures of the other partners, other stakeholders who are from different countries, and we are speaking with them. And maybe there are some differences in our tones, some words which we use in our country, and some words which they use in their own countries, and the context is different, meaning is different. Body gestures they show different meanings in different cultural contexts. So if we will understand them, we can show proper tolerance and understanding and respect to those things in those countries. So it will also enhance international cooperation, like multicultural communication. It enhances cooperation in business, in academia, in other things. Like it can boost the economy of a country through the international business and trade cooperation. Lots of examples we see, like different chambers of commerce. I know in Russia, in Pakistan, in America, in many countries, they are working. And I'm also the sitting chairman for the standing committee for the international cooperation for the Chamber of Pakistan. In fact, Gujranwala in Pakistan, I am sitting chairperson, so I know how the businessmen they feel challenges, their problems to interact with the people from other cultures. For example, recently I arranged a meeting of a delegation of the businessmen from our Chamber of Commerce with the ambassador of Italy in Islamabad in Pakistan. So some of them they had zero knowledge about Italy and Italian culture. And before the meeting, I told them before going to the embassy for the meeting with the Francisco, who was the ambassador, so go and into the Google and check about their norms, their cultures, how to say hi, ciao ciao, how to say goodbyes. Look for some words before the meeting. And believe me, after these few small steps, when we went for the meeting, ambassador like he was looking on all of us, like looking at the delegation and the members of the delegation, how you are well prepared. And you know, our businessmen, the delegation proposed a model for a business cooperation for some products to import and export. He said, okay, no problem, without any hesitation, without anything. Like he just listened and he said, okay. And we noticed when we came back in our committee, in our chamber office, we were talking about the meeting feedback, for example, and everyone noticed the same thing. Why the ambassador was happy, even though he did not know any one of us, only one member, two member, he knew already. But all of the businessmen in the delegation at that time, he did not know them. He was happy to see them just because of these small things. He was happy. They people like these businessmen, they respect their culture. They love their way of communication, their language, their words, like their cultural background, small things, which had a great impression and impact over the ambassador. One other example from my personal experience as well, ambassador of the Turkey and also the Dr. Ilhami, who was the educational counselor and for the Turkey in Pakistan in Islamabad, he's good friend to me. I was in his office, and three my colleagues they were with me. He offered us a tea, like Turkish tea, and Turkish tea we usually take without milk. So I knew that I visited Turkey many times. I knew about the how they taste the tea, how they like use it. But my colleagues, unfortunately, they did not know. They put milk in it, and they were thinking it is a coffee or something like this. They put milk into the tea and Turkish tea, and they started to take it. And the Dr. Ilhami he started to smile. Somehow I asked him what happened. He said, uh, I think these guys, they never visited Turkey. I said, yes. They never visited Turkey, but then he explained how to use it. It was just about the British influence in Pakistan, maybe, or somehow like this. They use milk in the tea somehow, but in Turkey, they do not use it. So it depends somehow. If we already know about the cultural differences, sometimes it will have a but most of time it will have great impression. If we did not know like this Turkish meeting with the Turkish people, it was not good. I felt like this. If my colleagues they already knew about it, then they must be careful. But they did not know. They were like not in a very correct path. So Dr. Ilhami mentioned it very properly. Some other examples I would like to mention here later in my presentation. So why it is important? I was talking about it. Furthermore, it also improved our problem solving skills, of course, because in many cultures, uh, people solve problem and their approaches to solve the problem are different. Their strategies in their own context, cultural context, may be different from other countries. So if we will look into other cultures and their problem solving techniques and approaches and strategies, it's good, of course, and it's improve our personal problem solving and analytical skills from different cultures. So it depends. You know why? For example, in the diplomatic world or in the international world, if I will be posted anywhere, for example, in Russia, and I do not know about the Russian cultures and many other things which are related to Russia. I will suffer problems. I will not be a good negotiator, good ambassador in Moscow, for example. There is one real-time example in Czech Republic. The ambassador of Pakistan, Dr. Jamali, Mr. Jamali, he was the ambassador of Pakistan in Czech Republic 6 months ago. Recently, I was speaking with him in a telephonic conversation because I am living in Czech Republic nowadays. I called him, okay, I am coming to embassy. He told me, I am in Moscow now. I transferred to Moscow recently. And currently, he is in Moscow as an ambassador of Pakistan. And we were talking about different things about Russian cultures as well because he never worked in the Russia. First time he posted there. So he was telling me some words in Russian language. He's trying to learn as well as the ambassador and the diplomat of Pakistan in the Russia. So I was listening and I was very happy how the international people enjoy their lives in the different cultures while being there with them. So, in the last but not least, like the business and economy is a backbone for mostly, in most of the cases, for any country. And for the businessman, it is very important if they wanna expand their businesses in all of the countries and in many countries, for example. So, if they will speak with the CEOs of the other companies, for example, in Moscow, for example, in Italy, for example, in Russia, if they know the product hunting is a very important term in business because I'm running some companies as well. So now I'm extending my business in Europe. So I am facing these things, how it is important for us. Earlier it was problem and now it's very good. If we know what cultural impacts they will have on their products, and our company will produce those types of products according to their cultural requirements and demands. The sales will be very high. The demands will be very high. If we know the cultural thoughts of the people about the project, how they like, how they deal with those items, and our company, our businessmen, they can produce those items while having the knowledge about the cultural backgrounds of the people. So it is very important for the economy, for the business as well, with the global perspective. So that's why, in this regard, one very sad incident happened recently in Pakistan, which is I want to share here. Maybe you people saw in the CNN or maybe BBC recently. One girl, she used to wear a dress with the Arabic calligraphy in the dress, and she was sitting in a restaurant in a city Lahore, which is my city. She was sitting in a restaurant while she was wearing up the dress with the Arabic calligraphy, which is the very normal in Saudi Arabia to use such type of dresses. But in Pakistan, it was not very normal. Even no one used the dresses with the Arabic calligraphy. And you know, people they love Arabic because they are Muslim. And the holy book for the Muslim Quran is in Arabic. It is the reason why they love Arabic language, but they don't understand Arabic. No, even 5% people in Pakistan, they cannot speak Arabic language, but they just love just because of the holy book, Quran. So what was the issue which should be noted in the cultural context? It is very important for our Pakistani people as well, especially, and it is very recent tragedy. I will say tragedy in the last week. What happened? She was sitting in the restaurant. People saw her, and people thought maybe in her dress is Arabic calligraphy. This Arabic calligraphy is not Arabic calligraphy, but the holy verses of the Quran. They were thinking like this, and they thought she is disrespecting the holy book Quran. And people got together there, and they did not speak Arabic, and they did not know what is written in the dress. It was simple calligraphy, not the Quran. This misunderstanding of the language barrier, you know, it was a very huge level, I would say, loss for the nation of Pakistan, how they are illiterate. That girl and people just about to hit them, and then police came there. It was very hard movements for the police as well to control the people and their emotions. I would say only this barrier in the Arabic language and cultural backgrounds, differences and gaps can make lots of problems in such our distance and more religious countries like Pakistan. So such type of issues are very, very high impactful issues in any society, which may have bad consequences far beyond the cities in the any country. So it was a recent issue. BBC, CNN, they covered it recently. How the people in Pakistan, they do not speak Arabic, but this happened. I heard about it, and I was very sad. People should learn Arabic. If they love Quran, they should learn Arabic. Simple. How they can love a book and love is a questionable love. They don't understand Arabic, but they love Quran or what? It does not make sense to me now. So it's a problem. So these are the things. That's why we must have to learn intercultural communication skills, positive consequences, and sometimes the gaps of intercultural communication things may have negative impacts, like this one case. So it is not limited. Lots of examples I can quote here from the real world I faced. So let's move forward. I would like to share one, two more examples before saying goodbye to all of you. Uh, Sarah was the student who was studying in Pakistan. She was from America. She came to Pakistan for the study for her master degree in the Islamic University in Islamabad, International University it is. So she was studying there. She was facing lots of challenges as well during these studies. But those people usually, I was in conversation with the Sarah. I asked her, how did you manage your cultural differences, because the America is totally different and Pakistan is totally different. So she told me four things. Like the first was the language barrier. Sarah was facing with Urdu language a challenge, because Urdu is our national language and she did not speak it. Because in our universities in Pakistan, the teachers they usually teach in Urdu language. No doubt the medium of instruction should be in English, as they already know the students are from different countries, but mostly they speak local language like Urdu in the universities. And Sarah was in the class and she was like, "Is what the professor is talking about." And why she coped with this language barrier? Only one solution, either to learn Urdu, either to say goodbye. So she learned Urdu. She did little bit struggle, but she got it. So one thing she did this language barrier everywhere. It is a thing. Language is very important. Wherever you will go, for example, I am living in Czech Republic nowadays. But they don't speak English usually. They speak that language. The people, the civilians, the businessmen here mostly. So language is most important thing in this context. What we are talking about today in this conference. The second thing Sarah told me, cultural differences. So Sarah noticed differences in communication styles, of course, particularly in the classroom setting. In America, it is different. In Pakistan, it is different how the professors they speak with the students. In America, students and in Europe as well. I noticed students get involved in the open conversation with the professors, with the teachers. But in Pakistan, it is not common. So it is if the professor is speaking, it is important for the students to listen and don't start the open conversation anytime. It makes us disrespect for the professors. It is unfortunately in our culture. So listen to the professor. It is important. And the students' opinions, students' feedback somehow not like Europeans and Americans. Open conversation, open dialogues are not much appreciated in this culture. Somehow it is. I noticed as well. The third thing, and Sarah was facing this because she was used to talk anytime with open conversation, open dialogues, but in Pakistan she felt differences. Adaptation, the third thing which she was talking about. Over time, Sarah, for example, actively engaged with her peers and professors, seeking clarifications when needed. So usually she adopted it. The last thing, like positive outcome through her uh, perseverance. Sarah developed deep friendship with her Pakistani classmates, professors, but she adopted some things like she struggled somehow with the language. She realized about the cultural differences, what type of culture is here in the university in Pakistan. She learned. Last example is the David, who was the UK diplomat, British diplomat, who was working in Islamabad, in our capital city, as a British diplomat. Um, he as a diplomat, I was in conversation with him. Now he transferred back to another country. I don't know. I am not sure where he is nowadays. But four things for him as well, like cultural sensitivities. David had to navigate various cultural sensitivities, especially regarding religious practices and social norms, because as the diplomat of one country into another country, it makes sense to go through the cultural sensitivities because they have to talk with people from different backgrounds, either religious or social norms, maybe. So he was into cultural sensitivities. He was learning about. He was like spending most of the initial times of his posting in Pakistan. He was going through the cultural activities and learning. Non-verbal communication, for example, David paid close attention to the gestures of the people of Pakistan, facial expressions, and body language, of course, to understand what they mean. So the third thing, like building trust, establishing trust and rapport was crucial in David's diplomatic interactions over there. Then the positive outcomes for him as well, like by demonstrating cultural sensitivity and adaptability, David was able to effectively fulfill his diplomatic duties in Pakistan. So before going to end of my presentation, my talks, here one thing from Czech Republic. My class fellow, she is from Czech Republic because I am doing my third master degree in European politics. It is just about to end now. I am also the program's board member in the Masaryk University of Czech Republic. So it's a major board to decide and make policies. So we have languages programs, especially with Japanese and other international languages like French. I'm also learning French in my first semester. I enrolled. Now I am in my last semester, by the way. So I was learning French and little bit Czech Republic, and now my French and my Czech language, they are mixed. So Veronica, she is a Czech student. She is my class fellow. She born in Czech Republic and she lives in the same dormitory where I live in Czech Republic. Usually every day we meet up, our gossips, and we speak a lot about Czech culture, Pakistan culture, and other cultures from other people. So last night, 2 days ago, when I was in Czech Republic, I was speaking with her, and I told her after 2 days I have to speak with the people from Russia on intercultural communication subject. So I shared this topic with Veronica. She told me because she's student of the linguistics and she's learning Japanese language. And you know what is her feedback on the linguistic? She born in Czech Republic, but from inside she's totally Japanese, totally Japanese. I was telling her, why you born here? You should born in Osaka, in Tokyo, somewhere in Japan. What are you doing here? And she will move there very soon. And in this summer, I was in the United Nations 2 months ago in the UN meetings. I met with the governor of the Hiroshima, Mr. Yosaki, and he is the sitting governor for Hiroshima. He is from Japan, of course, he is Japanese. We were speaking about our cultural ties and ties between Pakistan, like diplomatic ties. Somehow he invited us to visit Hiroshima in summer to explore their culture, what is happening in the Hiroshima, what are the like cultural preserves over there, ancient things, heritages after nuclear explosion over there, how they are managing now. So in this summer, Veronica and all of my colleagues, we will go there on the invitation of Mr. Yosaki to visit and explore Japan. And after that visit, Veronica will not come back. She will settle there. So, so like this. So this is the culture. If you are from Russia, if I am from Pakistan, if Veronica are from Czech Republic, it does not matter. You are from one country. You can go anywhere. You can explore other countries, and we should. It's very good thing, by the way. And for our personal development, for our problem solving, skills improvement, for globalization, international cooperation, having the impact globally, lots of benefits, I will say. I cannot count here. So if you want to gain these benefits, go for this. Learn these intercultural communication skill as much as possible. Learn some new languages, what you want. Go for them. Enjoy the learning procedures, your training phases. Of course, like Maria and Daria, who are experienced in these fields, they know a lot. As I'm also very much a player when I came to, I usually go to abroad and interact with the people from different backgrounds, different cultures, even some actual states and diplomats, how it is important for us to understand. Here, it's very, very helpful. So, in the last, I would like to share a news here. Tomorrow, I'm going to Russia, to Sochi, uh, from Georgia. Tomorrow, I will go to Russia for 1 week. I will be in Sochi for World Youth Festival. I will interact with the people over there. I would love to participate in such. Maybe I will have a chance to interact with the President of Russia. Let's see if I will interact. I will share in the group. Because our former Prime Minister, Mr. Imran Khan, he is very good friend to Mr. Putin, His Excellency. They are very good friends, support each other very much. So if I will have a chance to meet with the President, I will talk about our Mr. Imran Khan and his legacy, even with the Foreign Minister of Russia as well. Of course, I will meet with the Foreign Minister of Russia at least. So I will share the news in the group of the free talks, what I will explore there. So I am open for questions. I took your lots of time. Thanks for listening me. Thanks for your cooperation, and especially thanks to Katerina for giving me one more.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to hear. As always, it is very useful for us, and thank you so much for sharing your background, for sharing their examples from the life, and also I really like the example of the restaurant with some notice on the clothes in Arabic. So. I'm really impressed that you are in here soon in Russia. Unfortunately, I wouldn't attend this festival. I'm not so young anymore. just joke. Just joke. Anyway, I know that you will be there, and I know that you will be our ambassador from the Free Talks. We will talk about it later again. And so I wish you fruitful work and exploring Russia, exploring Sochi. It is a wonderful place. And yes, also one more intercultural communication place to communicate with people, with youth from all over the world. So, and yes, it is wonderful. And it wasn't planned that our conference will be almost at the same time during the Festival of Youth in Russia. But, you know, we are there where we need to be. So, and we are here talking about intercultural communication, about dialogue. And we are finishing now. And I want to tell you all, guys and speakers and participants, this conference for me is very important because around 4 years and a little bit more I work on it with you, with my participants, now with my team, and now with wonderful group from Yekaterinburg. Also we learned each other, and we are learning each other. We are all from pedagogical universities. Somehow at the same time we're all are keen on culture and languages, and despite any situations which happened, despite COVID, despite some other issues, we are still working on cooperation around the world in here, because I really believe the world doesn't have borders, that we are all connected, and we are cultivating connections today together. Thank you so much for all of speakers and for all of participants to being here today, and we will go to entire world with this background. And also I want to tell you that our conference was filmed, and we will work on the post-production, and we will share it on YouTube, and it would be available for all of us as a material and as a practice tips. All material we will share in our chat, and also we will share in our site. We will send the links in our chat, and of course we will continue to work on in progress and to work on cultural communication, intercultural dialogue, and learning languages. I hope all together with this big team and with all world. Thank you so much for sharing this day with me, for sharing this 4 years anniversary with Free Talks. And now we will work online from today and till, I don't know, all my life. So thank you so much, and big love for you.
Thank you, Ekaterina, for organizing for us.
Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.